Moonlit Mates, a Bear Shifter Romance by Ella Wayne. Chapter 1. Beatrice Winters, with a soul stitched together by the prose of countless tales, found solace among the crowded shelves and the musty scent of aged paper. In her mid-20s, she carried a quiet aura that seemed to hum harmoniously with the tranquil ambiance of Graythorn's only bookstore. Petite in stature, Beatrice moved with an ease that belied her diminutive frame, weaving between bookcases like a character navigating through her own story. Her long, wavy auburn hair cascaded over her shoulders, often catching the light that filtered through the dusty windows, casting a glow that matched the warmth in her brown eyes. On this particular day, as she had done every day for the past few years, Beatrice was absorbed in her work at Mabel Jenkins's bookstore. With meticulous care, she ran her slender fingers along the spines of new arrivals, aligning them with an almost reverent touch. The chime above the door signaled another customer's entry into this sanctuary of words, but Beatrice barely registered the sound. She was too engrossed in her task, ensuring that each title was displayed to catch the eye of any curious soul who wandered in seeking escape or enlightenment. The bookstore, a haven of literary treasure overseen by the venerable Mabel Jenkins, was more than just a place of business to Beatrice. It was a second home, a universe brimming with unexplored galaxies of narrative. Each shelf housed a multitude of worlds, and Beatrice felt honor-bound to guide patrons through this cosmos of imagination. Her dedication to the books was akin to a silent vow, promising to cherish and respect the stories that had been confided to her keeping. As she straightened a stack of hardcovers, Beatrice's gaze lingered on an anthology of paranormal romances. A small smile played at the corners of her mouth, hinting at an inner life teeming with dreams and a heart yearning for adventures yet to be penned. Her connection to the fantastical genres was evident in the gentle way she handled the volume, her fingertips grazing the cover as if to affirm the reality of its existence, a private acknowledgement of her own longing for the extraordinary. With the store absent of customers for a fleeting moment, Beatrice allowed herself the luxury of cracking open the anthology, her eyes scanning the first line, eager to lose herself in its embrace, even if just for a heartbeat before duty called her back to the present. It was moments like these, stolen amidst the ebb and flow of her daily routine, that nourished her spirit, fanning the flames of wonder that burned quietly within the depths of Beatrice Winters' contemplative soul. The chime above the door announced another patron's entry, pulling Beatrice from her brief literary reverie. She tucked a loose strand of auburn hair behind her ear and set the anthology down with care, turning to greet the newcomer with a warm smile that reached her brown eyes. "Good afternoon. Can I help you find something?" Her voice was soft yet clear, a melodic note in the quiet hum of the bookstore. The woman who had entered hesitated, scanning the shelves with an overwhelmed look. "I'm looking for a gift for my niece. She loves, what are they called? Those stories with magic and creatures." "Fantasy novels," Beatrice supplied eagerly, stepping out from behind the counter. She walked with purpose toward one of the shelves lined with vibrant spines, each book a portal to another realm. "How old is your niece? We have some wonderful young adult fantasy, or if she's older, there's a fantastic selection of high fantasy with more complex themes." "She's 13, quite the avid reader. Wants to be a writer herself one day." The woman's eyes lit up with pride. "Ah, then she might enjoy this series," Beatrice said, plucking a brightly illustrated book from the shelf. "It's about a young girl who discovers she's part of an ancient lineage of dragon shifters. It's full of adventure, self-discovery, and it's just the right level for an aspiring young author to enjoy." "Dragon shifters?" The woman looked intrigued. "Absolutely. It's a blend of myth and modern-day dilemmas, perfect for sparking creativity." Handing the book over, Beatrice watched as the woman flipped through the pages, her interest evidently piqued. "Thank you so much," the woman said with genuine gratitude, her choice made. "Of course. I hope she loves it." Beatrice's heart swelled with satisfaction at having made a perfect match. It was in these exchanges that her passion for literature felt most validated, her knowledge igniting the spark of adventure in others. As the afternoon stretched on and the steady flow of customers ebbed, Beatrice's mind wandered to her own escapades. During her lunch breaks, she often found solace in the woods beyond the outskirts of town. There was something about the untamed beauty of nature that called to her, a whisper of the unknown that beckoned her to explore. She imagined the winding paths beneath the canopy of trees, each step an invitation to unravel the secrets held close by the forest. In those precious moments of solitude, surrounded by the earthy scent of pine and the soft sounds of wildlife, Beatrice would allow her imagination to run free, envisioning herself as the protagonist of her own story, bold and unafraid. "Beatrice, dear, time for your break," Mabel called from across the room, breaking her from her daydream. "Thank you, Mabel," Beatrice replied, her spirits lifting. Soon she would tread the familiar trails, her soul alight with the promise of discovery and the sweet caress of the wild that seemed to understand her longing for life beyond the written page. Stepping into the embrace of the woods, Beatrice's heart quickened with excitement. The dense canopy above her splintered the sunlight into a kaleidoscope of greens and golds, casting an enchanting glow over the forest floor. She ventured deeper, her petite frame slipping easily through narrow gaps between the trees, her wavy auburn hair catching stray beams of light. Today, the familiar paths beckoned with the promise of unexplored mysteries, as if the woods themselves were shifting, revealing secrets just for her. There was a rhythm to her steps, a dance with the unseen forces that guided her beyond the trodden trails. Her breath came in soft gasps of awe, each corner turned unveiling a hidden alcove or a sun-dappled glade she had never encountered before. Her warm brown eyes glistened with the thrill of discovery, the whispers of adventure resonating deep within her soul. Beatrice felt as though the very essence of the stories she cherished pulsed through these woods, a symphony of silent tales waiting to be heard. With each secret spot uncovered, the veil between her world and the one written in the pages of her beloved books seemed to thin. Here, in the hushed serenity of nature's library, Beatrice was both a reader and a story waiting to unfold. It was then that she saw it, a corner of aged leather peeking out from beneath a carpet of moss and fallen leaves. A surge of curiosity propelled her forward, her fingers trembling slightly as they brushed away the detritus to reveal the book's full form. The cover was worn, its once vibrant hues faded by time and the elements, but to Beatrice, it was a treasure chest, its weathered appearance only heightening her intrigue. How had this relic come to rest here, in the quiet solitude of the forest? She traced the embossed patterns on the cover with reverence, feeling the pulse of history within its pages. The book seemed to resonate with a life of its own, a silent whisper urging her to look inside. But the sun's descent through the trees signaled the end of her brief respite from the world of Mabel's bookstore and the responsibilities that awaited her return. Cradling the mysterious tome against her chest, Beatrice cast one last glance at the secluded spots that had shared their secrets with her today. With a sense of longing tugging at her heart, she made her way back to civilization, the ancient book a new companion in her ongoing quest for knowledge and adventure. Perched upon a fallen log, its bark rough beneath her delicate touch, Beatrice Winters cradled the enigmatic book in her lap. The forest around her was alive with whispers of wind and the gentle murmur of wildlife, but none of that could rival the allure of the untold story nestled in her hands. With a reverence reserved for the most sacred rituals, Beatrice eased open the cover, her breath catching at the musty scent of aged paper that rose to greet her. The first page crackled softly as she turned it, and inked words sprawled across the yellowed parchment in a looping, elegant script unlike any she had ever seen. It wasn't just text, there were sketches too. Illustrations of lands uncharted and creatures fantastical, each line a siren's call luring her deeper into the book's embrace. As Beatrice's eyes devoured paragraph after paragraph, the world around her seemed to fade. The rustling leaves merged with the rustle of pages, the chirping birds harmonized with the voices of characters she felt she had known all her life. The tale unfolded like a vivid tapestry before her inner eye, woven from threads of magic and strands of an adventure so enthralling it eclipsed reality itself. In this realm, conjured by the writer's hand, Beatrice encountered realms where the trees whispered secrets of centuries past and rivers that flowed with liquid silver. She walked alongside heroes whose courage bled from the page, touching her soul, urging her to partake in their journey. Every word ignited her imagination, sparks catching fire and burning brightly within her mind. There were moments when she nearly reached out to touch the phantasmal landscapes, half expecting her fingertips to meet with something other than air. Her heart raced as she turned another page, another chapter, her pulse echoing the footsteps of the bear shifter who roamed the enchanted woodlands of the narrative, a protector of ancient wisdom and forbidden love. Beatrice could almost feel the weight of his gaze, the depth of emotion that rippled through his transformation from man to beast and back again. The sun continued its path overhead, unnoticed by Beatrice, casting dappled patterns of light and shadow across the pages that captivated her. In the sanctuary of the woods, time held no dominion over her. There was only the story, a current sweeping her along in its powerful flow. Reality was a distant shore, and she was adrift, willingly lost at sea amidst waves of words and wonder. The light dimmed, a subtle shift that crept upon the world with stealthy grace. Shadows stretched like languid cats over the forest floor, reaching out to claim the day's remnants. Beatrice's eyes, so intently focused on the journey of the stalwart bear shifter within her newly found tome, finally lifted from the weathered pages at the encroaching chill of evening air. A shiver ran down her spine, not only from the drop in temperature but from the realization that the sun had descended towards the horizon, its golden hues replaced by the purples and blues of twilight. The once bright canopy above was now a tapestry of darkening leaves, whispering to each other that night was near. "Goodness," she muttered under her breath, her voice a soft feather in the growing silence of the woods. How long had she been reading? Her wristwatch confirmed her fears. Hours had slipped away as easily as sand through fingers. Panic pirouetted in her chest, and she drew her cardigan tighter around her petite frame. The book lay open in her lap, its spine creased with age, the words beckoning her back to the embrace of its narrative. But practicality fought against desire, warring within her as she glanced between the closing lines of the chapter and the path that would lead her home. With a tender sigh, one filled with regret and longing, Beatrice pressed her palm against the page, feeling the texture of the paper like a promise, or perhaps a farewell. She closed the book with care, the sound of it shutting out the tale within, a soft thud that seemed too loud in the quieting forest. Her heart swelled with a myriad of emotions, wonder at the story that had unfolded before her, an ache for the adventure that called to her spirit, and a thirst for knowledge of what lay beyond the next chapter. Yet there was a sense of completion, too, knowing she would return to these pages, to the mystery and romance of the bear shifter's world. Beatrice tucked the precious volume under her arm, casting one last look at the log where she had sat transfixed for hours. The trees seemed to stand as sentinels, guarding the secrets of their woodland and the stories it held close. With a reluctant step, she began her trek back to reality, the pull of the book's magic lingering like the final rays of sunset on her wavy auburn hair. Leaves crunched beneath Beatrice's boots as she picked her way through the dimming woods, the fading light casting elongated shadows that danced around her. The rustling of the wind through the trees whispered secrets, and for a moment, Beatrice could almost hear the call of her name on the breeze, just like the protagonist in her newfound tale had heard the mystical summons of the bear shifter. With each step, the lines between the pages of the book and the reality of her world seemed to blur. Her mind replayed the scenes of ancient magic and forbidden love she had devoured, echoing with the growls and soft murmurings of characters that felt as real to her as the forest itself. The weight of the book under her arm was a grounding presence, a tangible link to the extraordinary narrative that had enveloped her. The transition from the secluded embrace of the trees to the open road was jarring. The quaint street lamps of the town blinked to life, their glow no match for the natural luminescence of the woods, yet offering a familiar comfort. Beatrice's petite form moved with determined grace, her strides carrying the quiet confidence of one who had traversed not only the physical trails, but also the emotional landscape of an enthralling adventure. As the bookstore came into view, its windows aglow with a welcoming amber light, Beatrice felt the pull of her two worlds, the safe haven of Mabel Jenkins' literary trove and the uncharted wilderness of her imagination. She paused at the door, hand resting on the cool metal of the handle, her heart still racing from the thrill of the journey within the pages. Pushing open the door, the familiar scent of paper and ink wrapped around her like a warm embrace. The steady hum of hushed conversations and the occasional flutter of pages turning greeted her ears. Beatrice stepped inside, her eyes taking a moment to adjust to the softer lighting, her senses already missing the earthy aroma of the forest. She made her way to the counter, placing the book gently down as if it were a rare artifact unearthed from another time. Beatrice's gaze lingered on the leather-bound cover, her fingers itching to flip it open and lose herself once more, in the story of passion and power. But duty called, and she knew she had responsibilities to tend to before she could allow herself to dive back into the enigmatic world that awaited her. "Back from your break, Bea?" Mabel's voice cut through her reverie, a knowing smile in her tone. "Sorry, I lost track of time," Beatrice replied, her cheeks coloring with a mix of embarrassment and excitement. "Find something good?" Mabel nodded towards the book, her curiosity piqued by the look of wonder etched across Beatrice's features. "Something incredible," Beatrice affirmed, her warm brown eyes alight with the fire of a story that burned too brightly to be contained. "I'll tell you all about it later." With that, Beatrice slid behind the counter, her thoughts still ensnared by the fantastical tale of the bear shifter, even as she prepared to welcome the evening customers. The book's presence was a silent promise of adventures to come, and as the chapter of her day came to a close, the next awaited her, brimming with possibilities and the allure of the unknown.